Okay, forget everything you think you know about boring high school math. Seriously. Today, we're talking about a genuine superpower. It's a way of thinking that lets you solve all kinds of puzzles in the real world, from measuring something that seems impossible to measure to making sense of really complex data. It's called proportional reasoning, and it's awesome.
And to show you just what I mean, let's kick things off with a problem that honestly seems totally impossible at first. Just picture this. You're standing right at the edge of a huge, massive canyon.
So how do you measure it? I mean, you can't just throw a tape measure across, right? And you definitely can't walk it. So how in the world do you figure out how wide it is? It sounds like a trick question, but I promise, it's not. It's just a puzzle, and it's a puzzle our new superpower is perfect for.
So how does a surveyor actually tackle something like this? Well, it's pretty clever. Check this out. They find a smaller, similar triangle nearby that they can actually measure. So in our case, let's say they measure one that has a height of 15 feet and a base of 10 feet. The whole idea here is to use the relationship, the proportions of this little triangle to figure out the measurements of the giant one made by the canyon itself. The only thing we don't know is the canyon's width.
Okay, so before we totally crack this code, we need to grab our tools. Don't worry, it's a pretty simple toolkit. There are only two things we need, and they're super easy to understand.
First tool in the box, a ratio. And all that is really is just a way to compare two numbers. So for our little triangle, the ratio of its height to its base is just 15 to 10. That simple relationship, that's our first key to solving the whole thing.
And the second tool is a proportion. Now, this is the big idea. A proportion is just an equation that says two ratios are equal. The light bulb moment for our surveyor is realizing that the height to base ratio of that small triangle is exactly the same as the ratio for the huge canyon triangle. They're proportional. That's the secret.
So how do we actually use that amazing insight? With a really simple three-step trick. It's called cross multiplication. All you do is set up your two equal ratios, multiply diagonally across that equal sign, and then solve for the one piece you're missing. Come on, let's go do it right now.
All right, we are back at the edge of the canyon. We've got our tools, we've got our numbers. We are totally ready to solve this thing.
Okay, here's exactly how we set it up. We take the ratio from our small triangle. That's height over base, so 15 over 10, and we set it equal to the ratio of the big triangle. That's 77 over x, which is that mystery width of the canyon we're trying to find. See that? This one little equation holds the entire puzzle.
And now for that little magic trick I was talking about, cross multiplication. We're going to multiply diagonally, so we connect the 15 to the x and the 77 to the 10. And that gives us a brand new, much simpler equation. 15x equals 770. And just like that, look, we're literally one step away from the answer. All we have to do now is solve for x. And there it is. The canyon is 51.3 feet wide. We just did it. We measured something that seemed completely unmeasurable, and we did it without even leaving our spot. That is the power of proportional reasoning. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, so that's a really cool trick if you're a surveyor, I get it. But this superpower, it is not just for measuring canyons. Let's look at a couple of everyday examples where you're probably already using this way of thinking, maybe without even realizing it.
Here's a classic one. You just finished a long road trip, and you want to figure out your car's gas mileage. But there's a small problem. You know the distance in kilometers, but you want the answer in miles per gallon. The units just don't match.
No problem. Proportional reasoning to the rescue. All we need is one simple ratio to act as a bridge between the two, and that is 1 kilometer is roughly 0.62 miles. We can use that to translate our distance. So we use that ratio, and we can figure out that 463 kilometers is about 287 miles. And now, it's easy, right? We just divide those 287 miles by the 12 gallons of gas we used, and boom, 23.9 miles per gallon. Problem solved.
Okay, what about this one? You're reading a college brochure and you see a statistic. 24% of all students are business majors. And right next to it, it says that's 420 people. But wait a minute, how many students are at the entire college?
You know, the key here is to realize that a percentage is really just a ratio in disguise. That's all it is. 24% literally just means 24 for every 100. And once you know that, you can set up a perfect proportion. 24 is to 100, as 420 is to, well, our unknown total enrollment, x. So we do our little cross multiplication trick, just like we did with the canyon, and we get our answer.
Turns out there are 1,750 students at that college. Think about that. We just used one little percentage to figure out the size of an entire school.
So here's the really crucial point. This isn't just a math trick for a few random problems. Once you start looking for it, I promise, you'll start to see this hidden logic, this proportional relationship, absolutely everywhere.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Ever have to scale a recipe up or down? You're using proportions. Reading a map scale to see how far you have to drive? That's a proportion. Building a model car? Figuring out a tip at a restaurant? Converting currency when you're on a trip? It's all proportions. It is seriously one of the most practical mental tools you can possibly have.
And really, this gets to the very heart of what this is. Proportional reasoning is basically a tool for translation. You take a relationship you already know and understand, like the ratio of that small triangle, or a simple percentage, and you use it like a key to unlock a much bigger mystery.
And that, right there, is the most important takeaway. This is not about memorizing formulas for a test. It's about adopting a new way of thinking. It's about training your brain to see the hidden patterns that connect things in the world, and knowing that you have the tool to make sense of it all.
So, I'll leave you with this question. As you go about the rest of your day, what hidden relationships are you going to spot? What little puzzles are you going to solve now that you're armed with this superpower? Keep your eyes open. I think you'll be really surprised by what you find.